US President Donald Trump is in the area, kicking off the first major foreign trip of his second term with high stakes and even higher expectations, viewers. He'll touch down in Riyadh Tuesday, then head to Doha and Abu Dhabi in a world tour echoing his 2017 debut on the world stage. Remember, Middle East was the first place he visited in his first term around as well. But this time, the world has changed. Two wars rage, one in Ukraine and the other one in Gaza. And Trump is aiming, in fact, to reshape alliances, secure billions in trade, and, of course, revive his image as the deal maker, as he calls himself. From projected portraits and glowing orbs to whispers of a gifted Qatari luxury jet, as the new Air Force One nonetheless, the trip is as much as a spectacle as it has substance in it. Behind closed doors, well, talks on Iran's nuclear future, hostage deals with Hamas, and a controversial push to, in fact, pressure Gulf nations on the oil prices and artificial intelligence investments. One country missing from the itinerary, you guessed it right, Israel. And with Gaza still in crisis, Trump's absence here speaks volumes. In a region on the edge, viewers, in a world watching, what Trump says and he doesn't say may echo far beyond the desert sands. And finally, President Trump is expected to meet US troops in Qatar before finally wrapping up his trip on Friday. For more on this, we are joined by Mahdi Ghuloom. He's from the ORF in Middle East, and Willem Buiter. He's an independent economic advisor. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen. Willem, I hope I got your name pronunciation correct.
That is excellent, thank you.
Yeah, all right. I'll come to you first, Mr. Ghuloom, with the geopolitical questions. How do you think Trump's visit, would shift Gulf nations' positions on Israel and the Gaza conflict?
I think well, first of all, thank you, Arjun, for having me. I think the positions are likely to remain the same. I think the Abraham Accords definitely was a success for the previous Trump administration. Things are a bit trickier at the moment. It also, recent reports seem to suggest that a deal with Saudi Arabia on civil nuclear matters will be decoupled from matters like the Abraham Accords or normalization with Israel. So it seems to me that this suggests that the Saudi position, at the very least, is going to remain the same. Though the world of Trump and the geopolitics can surprise us sometimes.
Over to you, Mr. Buiter. How effective do you think is direct pressure from Trump, being the US president, in influencing oil prices globally, especially now he is going to be in the Middle East? Will we see a huge change in oil prices globally or an impact?
It can have an impact, certainly. Saudi, Qatar, UAE are major players in the oil industry. And Trump will undoubtedly try, in addition to obtaining large amounts of investments in the US by these Middle Eastern countries, will also try to boost oil production so that prices stay lower. And I think as part of a deal, mixing politics and economics, he could well achieve these economic objectives.
All right, I copy that. I have a double-barrel question for you now, Mr. Ghuloom. The first bit of it, could Trump realistically revive or even expand the Abraham Accords during this trip? And the second one is, how significant actually is Iran's nuclear stance to Saudi Arabia's current regional strategy?
So I think, to answer the first question, I don't think this trip is going to be about the Abraham Accords. There's been no indication as to that. However, I think this trip and the GCC summit that Trump will be attending is likely a sign that the Gulf will have more input into the nuclear deal and perhaps the framework that's being discussed. And I think Trump will have an ear out for hearing out the Gulf states' leaders' views on what that nuclear deal could look like as the talks are underway. So I think between the two, I think it's more about Iran than the Abraham Accords this trip.
Mr. Buiter, coming to you now, could Trump's push for crypto and artificial intelligence deals, as he's been, saying, and gravitating towards rather. Does it signal a pivot in US economic diplomacy?
I think the fact that this trip goes to the Middle East only, right, ignores Israel and Europe. He went after his first trip to Saudi. He did go to Israel and Europe. So there is a clear message here that Trump expects economic and the political links with the Middle East to strengthen, and is not particularly concerned about what this will do.
On what you said, Mr. Buiter, right there, sorry to interrupt you, sir. I'd just like to add a supplementary question here. Do Gulf leaders do they face some risk in appearing too close to Trump during this volatile time in the region, since he's not going to Israel, as you mentioned?
I'm sorry, there's a disturbing noise in my...
I'll repeat myself, Mr. Buiter.
Okay.
I was asking you, do Gulf leaders also face any risk if they appear too close to Trump, especially during this volatile time in the region?
No, absolutely. Violence is still everywhere. Right? Apart from Gaza and Hezbollah and the Houthis who have been weakened, there is the Iran issue. And yes, this is not a trip without political risk, but it is a business trip. He is looking for business deals. And politics plays only in the background.
It's a business trip and politics plays only in the background. But with that, Mr. Ghuloom, I come to you and I ask the big question, actually, which is there on everyone's mind, at least in India, I can vouch for. What ethical and economic implications arise from Trump purportedly accepting a luxury jet as Air Force One, sir? I'll take that question. I see Willem bobbing his head. The question's coming next to you, sir. Please, Mr. Ghuloom, please.
So I think, if the aircraft is accepted, I think ethically, I think the main discussions are going to revolve around any potential security threats, any potential security threats arising from accepting an aircraft from a foreign nation. However, if that passes through the checks and balances that the US does have, then I think ethically it might be a bit less controversial. However, when it comes to the political reaction domestically that Trump is likely to receive, that's going to be a consideration that he has to make. However, also one important thing to note is that this report.
Mr. Buiter, yes, please.
Yeah,
Mr. Buiter, quickly. I saw you nodding your head. Very quickly, Price. I'm really short on time here.
The domestic political reactions of a $400 million gift to Trump as president, which he, if they donated at the end of his term to the Trump library, he could continue to use, would be politically very damaging. I find it hard to realize, to imagine.
We'll just leave it at that. Mr. Buiter says he finds it hard to imagine a $400 million gift. Thank you so much for taking out the time and joining us here, gentlemen.